Okay, what we're going to do, I'm going to be using a product that works really well with Google Slides. I believe it also can work with PowerPoint, but I use it exclusively with my Google Slides, and it's a way to get my kids to interact while I'm doing presenting, while I'm giving them my direct instruction. So I'm going to have us start with that, just because I wanted to ask a few questions to kind of get to know you guys a little bit better and what you want to, where your competency is with Google Slides. We're a year into the pandemic. Was that crazy? How many of you guys ended up going back to school before the end of your before the end of the school year? You did. I did too. We went back in March. Yeah, it was weird. The hybrid situation was a little weird. I'm doing summer school right now, and we've gotten rid of the plastic partitions in front of the kids, but the kids are still wearing masks in the classroom. But it's getting close to normal. The hybrid stuff was really it was really kind of weird. It was hard to get the energy going that a normal classroom gets going because of all of the divisions. Nora, your school, you didn't go back to school at the end. That's kind of cool. It'll be weird though, because the kids were so quiet when they came back. And even in summer school, I'm working the second session now. We had, in our district, we had 2 different sessions going, and it's just now the kids are starting to interact and become more social, like what I'm used to. But getting them to talk to each other in the beginning actually took some doing. All right, it looks like things have slowed down as far as people trying to get into the classroom. If you wouldn't mind going to joinpd.com and logging in here, I'm just going to start the class with a few questions. I'm going to show you how this works and how you can pair it up with Google Slides, but this is really designed to be an introductory class. At the end of this class, you guys will have your own Google Slide presentation that you can use in your classroom, especially if you are used to using PowerPoint and you haven't really transitioned or felt the need to use Google Slides. I do want to talk to you about some of the benefits of Google Slides over PowerPoint. And really the only thing that I see that is a big plus is it's so much easier to get kids to work together and do collaborative work when we're using Google Slides. And I rarely use it as a presentation mode like what we're doing. I use it mostly as an interactive deck. So that's what I want to show you guys, because I think that's probably the way that I use Google Slides the best. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, but I do want you guys to know you can jump on any time into this. You would just go to the website, joinpd.com, this one right here, and this enroll code will be up in the upper right hand corner all the time. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get it started. And what I want to do is just start by asking questions. So this one's going to be an example of a short answer question. And I want to show you what it'll look like. So when the kids are, I have, actually, let me see if I can show you what I have by playing around with my screen and which screen I'm sharing. So this is how I have 2 monitors going right now. And on my one monitor, I have a dashboard. And what I want to do right now is just switch the screen that you're looking at so that you could see how I have my monitor set up so that I can have the dashboard that you are seeing. I have controls here where I can hide responses, and that way the kids are only seeing the question, or I can show responses here. And if I want to, I could even select which one to use. I do that all the time when I'm working with my kids in the classroom, because maybe one kid has responded appropriately and has done a really good answer and I want to spotlight it, or maybe one student answered it a little inappropriately, like it needs to be adjusted, or it's just a little bit incomplete and I want to tell them how to add to it. So it's a really good way to give kids immediate feedback. And so this is kind of how I have my screen set up. I've got the dashboard that they give you. You can lock the screen so students are not, they can't give any reports anymore. You can on the fly generate a new prompt here. And so that's pretty much it. It's not really complicated. You can, the view you see can be a grid view too, so you can play around with which view. But I'm going to go back to the regular screen so that we can continue here. So it looks like I've got all kind of grade levels, and I have some teachers that are on special assignment that just want to know a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next question. This is really where I want to start. I have a feeling that most teachers, you were thrown into this like I was, and you had some experience with probably PowerPoint, because most computers come with Microsoft products. And so probably you started with PowerPoint, but I can't assume. I do want to see if you've had any experience with PowerPoint before, and if that's where you get your, if that's mainly the product that you were using before. So I'm sorry, can you guys hear me? I just got a message that I needed to unmute. Just a second. Okay, can you hear me? Thank you. Okay. So lots of people with experience with PowerPoint. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next question. Have you used Google Slides before? Okay, so I do have a number of you guys that have used Google Slides before. That's good. Okay, and I have some responses in. So I have yes, 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 yes. Okay, so then what I want to do is get the next question, which is how experienced would you rate yourself? So let's go with this one. A, you're pretty advanced. If that's the case, you might be a little bored with this presentation, because I do want to take it from the beginning, but I'll know better after I see the responses on this slide. A beginner, you're more familiar with PowerPoint and have never really used Google Slides, or you're a beginner and you never really used either one of these presentation tools. Okay, so you have used it. So I'm getting a beginner, not really. Okay, so more familiar with PowerPoint. Let me look in the, okay. That's actually really good. If you guys are more familiar with PowerPoint, you're going to be very excited about the beginning of our presentation. Okay, so let's just get in. You have used it before, more familiar with PowerPoint. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide. Okay, so what I've done is I've created a Google Classroom. The only problem is I will probably include the slide deck and put it in the chat so that you can click on it. If you're using your school email to connect to this presentation, you may have difficulty getting into the Google Classroom. But what I'd like for you guys to do is to go ahead and go to that website and use this enroll code to get into the Google Classroom. It doesn't have a lot in it, but it does have like tutorials on how to use Google Slides for after we leave this presentation. It'll have stuff in there. So let me just show you what I'm talking about. So this is what the material we're going to use. This is the slide deck that we're using today. You'll also be able to access it through the Google Classroom, and I'll put it in the chat. This is the blank canvas that we're going to be experimenting with today. Okay, and then down here, these are just some tutorials on how to use it after we get through, and it'll go over some of the things that we're going to talk about in class today. So let me go just a little bit further in with the presentation, because I do want to tell you a little bit more about about why Google Slides is a beneficial tool to have. So just one more thing. I want to see if anybody is able to get into here. Okay, so I do have a handful of people that are able to access it. If you get any kind of error message, don't worry about it. I'm going to put it in, I'll put the slide decks in the chat, so you'll be able to get to it that way too. All right, so these are some of the things that I want you to leave with today. I want you to have your own presentation. I want you to be familiar with the tools that I use all the time for crafting my own slide decks. Add-ons, you'll be familiar with some of the most popular add-ons to use along with your slide deck, and then other ways that you can use slides, because it's really not just for presentations. It's a tool that you can use to create interactive activities for kids in the classroom too. And honestly, that's the way I use it the most. So these are some of the reasons why I was, like most of you guys, I was more familiar with PowerPoint than I was with Google Slides. And honestly, I didn't see, like, in my mind, they did the same thing. They're both power presentation platforms. So what's the point in getting used to another tool? So these are some of the things that I found. PowerPoint was pretty complicated. They had every bell and whistle you could want. And because of that, it made it a challenge for me to just give to kids to use, because I'd have to train them on how to use it. Google Slides is not as complicated as PowerPoint. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles. Some of the things that you can use, some of the add-ons, add those bells and whistles back to Google Slides, but it is a down and dirty basic presentation platform. It does everything you need it to do, just maybe not all of the bells and whistles. Any PowerPoint that you already have can easily convert to a Google Slide presentation. So you don't have to worry about redoing everything, which was honestly a blessing for me in the beginning, because I did, like I said, I had a lot of PowerPoints and I put a lot of time into creating them. And so being able to use them still in slides was great. It is a free platform. It's totally free for teachers. It'll be totally free for kids. So some of the barriers for kids in being able to access these programs, you don't have it with Google Slides at all. Collaboration is so much easier, and the add-ons just make it all that much more effective if we're doing presentations. Like Pear Deck is what we're using right now. Nearpod, it does the same thing with a few extra benefits with Nearpod, and Unsplash gives you like all the backgrounds I'm getting from Unsplash. So those are just some of the reasons why I did eventually go back to Google Slides or transfer over to Google Slides. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to our Google Classroom, and I'm going to also put the link to the deck there. You have lots of options on how you're going to get started. So that means if you have a PowerPoint presentation, we can talk about how we're going to import that into Google Slides. Adding content that has already been created. Like I said, if you have a PowerPoint thing, we're going to import it. If you like slides from another teacher, we're going to talk about how you can just lift a slide from a presentation. I've got two of my presentations I'm using in summer school right now that we're going to rip apart. You guys can take what you want and what you don't want. We're just going to practice with that. And then we're going to start from scratch. So, and we'll talk about before we really get here, I do want to talk a little bit about add-ons. So the next slide here, this is how we're going to start our, this will be the first slide in the blank deck that you have. And I think that right now would be a good time for me to put that slide into okay, what you're seeing me do right now is I'm pulling up the share button. We'll talk about this a little bit more, but it's really important that if you want somebody to collaborate with, to actually change and make changes on your deck, then what you're going to use is this upper one. If you just want to share a project with somebody, then you're going to use this lower one. And this is how you get to show people things. You do have some control over this. So what I'm going to do is I'm sharing this with everyone, anyone with a link. And one of the things that I'm going to say with it, if I said that you guys could edit it, what it would be is all 60 of us would be on the same slide deck, and that would be a little bit crazy. So what I'm going to say first is anybody can view this item, and then I'm going to show you what I want you to do next. So I'm going to copy this link and I'm going to put it in the chat right now. And what I would like you guys to do is open another tab on your browser and go ahead and click that. It'll probably open it up for you automatically. So go ahead and take a look at, just a second. I just gave that to my moderator. Let me do it one more time. Here we go. Okay, do you guys see the link now? Okay, I see you guys all jumping on here. So now what you have is view access. So if you took a look up at the top, yours is going to be a little bit different up here next to where it says blank canvas. It'll probably have a red bar that says view only access. So what you're going to want to do is go to your file menu, click on it, and you're going to go down here to make a copy of the entire presentation. Okay, so one more time, once it opens up, you're going to go to the file menu, you're going to make a copy, entire presentation, and click on it. Then it's going to put the copy into your Google Drive here, and it's basically telling you where you can find it again, and it's just dropping it in the top of your Google Drive. So once you see this, go ahead and click OK. And sorry, my dog is tangled up in my cord right now. So you should see this one, and you should also now see that you have free access to anything. You can make changes or do anything. Now, what I have here are all of the basic things that you can do with a Google slide deck. So change background color. You can use the templates that are present for Google Slides already. You can explore a tutorial here. This is the link to all of the Google Slide tutorials that Google puts out. If you want to insert a GIF, you can do that. You can insert a video, hyperlinks, everything that people like to use Google Slides with. Each one of these is just a little short screencast of me going through that process again. Okay, so first what I would like to do is have you guys, we're gonna create just a basic slide deck first. You can go back through these if you miss any steps, but first what I want to do is show you bells and how do you get started with it. So let's go down to our slide, our second slide. Now this is just your basic Google. It has no theme there, nothing there. But if you look up here, you've got a toolbar right above where your workspace is. And this is going to be the toolbar for whatever you have highlighted. So if I suddenly click here to where now it's text, what you'll see is this is going to change a little bit because now you have all the controls that you need to modify text, because I clicked in there. If I click out of this, then what it's looking at is more just the object. Okay, so when you see your cursor blinking, then you're ready to add text to it. If you don't see the cursor blinking, then whatever you're doing is going to change whatever has the handlebars all around it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to add a title to this slide and a sample. And here you can do any kind of text. What I want to do first is I want to show you some layouts. Okay, so we're talking about bare bones first. If you go up here to right above where you see the menu on the side, the sidebar, if you go right up to the top, you're going to notice that there is a little plus sign with an arrow pointing down next to it. If you click on that arrow, what you can see are all of the different layouts that you have for access to. This last one, I don't know if it'll pop that up. I actually tried to get rid of this one. Yeah, it'll give it to you. This was one of the examples that I wanted to show you, but let me get rid of that for just a second. A friend of mine created a slide deck that I wanted to share, but I couldn't get a hold of her to get permission to show it to you guys, so I don't feel like I should do that. But you'll be able to see all of the different layouts that they have. These are pretty standard. PowerPoint has the same kind of layouts, right? But it's not colorful, it's just blank. So if you want to add color, they have tons of themes for you. So if you click right above, we're on this blank screen here. If you click right above on that menu bar, you're going to see that there's something that's called theme. If you click on that, you're going to get all of these basic themes or layouts that Google's already created for you. You can also go to import theme. So what I'm going to do right now, just for a second for your presentation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to our main presentation. I'm just going to switch the tab. I'm going to go to the next slide. And on this next slide, these are where we're talking about all kinds of different add-ons. Slides Carnival is a really popular place for even fancier themes. So if you click on Slides Carnival here, in this presentation, in fact, let me give you this presentation too. Go back into our Google Classroom. Let me get this up. I'm going to put this one in the classroom again, or in the chat. Okay, so this is the slide deck that we're currently watching. And I see that there's a question here. Themes doesn't show up for me either. Okay, so what happens is if you don't see the theme menu, let me go back into our practice deck. Sorry, it's going to be here. Okay. If you don't see the theme here, then that means that you are probably in a bar. So whatever is accented is this menu is going to change to reflect it. So to get the themes, what you want to do is click outside of the box. So you're just looking at a blank deck or a blank slide. So if you're looking at a blank slide, you're going to see that now that menu has changed to reflect the add-on. So what you want to do is then click the theme button. Is there anybody who doesn't have the theme anymore for that? Okay. Okay. Okay, so go ahead and take a look at this theme, but I'd also like you I'd also like you guys to just explore Slides Carnival, because when you import a theme, what's going to happen if you use an add-on like Slides Carnival in order to create a theme that you like better? Let me go here just so that we can see what they have. Here you can do searches for different types of templates, anything that you can imagine. And this person also does, like if you send a message to this person, she could do one by request, always changing these things. But what's going to happen is if you click on one, like let's say this one, I kind of like this one, you're going to download it onto your computer. So what you're going to want to do is be able to figure out where it's being downloaded. And you see, you could use this even with PowerPoint. So you could use a PowerPoint template or a Google Slides template, and then download it. Just remember where it's at so that when you're importing it, it will, you'll be able to direct it to where you want it to go. And here I've got the template, and it has all of the different sites. So remember when I pointed you to here, everything was blank. What this does is it gives you those same layouts, but now they have this theme attached to it. Okay. So again, just in this presentation, you'll be able to get to this place again because this is linked for you. Sorry, let me go back to where I'm at. So this is where we're at right now is Slides Carnival. So do take a little bit of time, explore that. It's fun once you know how to get around inside that and import your own themes. And that's how you would get into that. So go ahead and click on that and change the theme to whatever you would prefer. So that's one way that you can get started. Now, if you have a PowerPoint presentation already created, what I want you to do is go to the File menu here, and what you can do is create a new, let me see, how is it? Oh, you can point it to open, and this is going to go right into your, just a second. Let me show you a better way to import something. So what you're going to do is you're going to go into your Google Drive. If you want to take one of your PowerPoints, you'll upload it into your Google Drive. To get to the drive, there's any number of ways that you can do that. You can just open another tab. You can hit the waffle that's on Chrome browser here. And then this triangle is your Google Drive. You can also get to your drive by typing in the web address drive.google.com. You can get to any of the main screens by doing that. Now what you want to do is you want to upload that PowerPoint presentation. So let me go back into, let me just set this up a little bit better. I'm going to download this theme as a PowerPoint just to show you how to upload something into Google Drive and transfer it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am now in my drive. I see this here, but that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload my PowerPoint. So I'm going to go into New, and I'm going to upload a file. I'm going to direct it to my download portion of my computer, and I see my PowerPoint there. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to bring it up. And now it's here. And while it says the upload is complete, I'm just going to go ahead and open it up here. And what you'll notice is this looks like a slide presentation, but it is still, let me go into here, because when it did it before, you'll see instead of an yellow here with the slide symbol, you'll see a PowerPoint. So when it first opens up, it's going to look like this for you. What you want to do then is just go File, and when you click on File to convert it to a slide, you just save it as a Google slide. That's it. It's not any more complicated than that. So if you had your own presentation, it would be just that simple. The only problem is sometimes what Google Slide does is it defaults to a certain slide size. PowerPoint has multiple types of slide sizes, so you might see some slight differences in terms of where your windows are, and you might have to make a few adjustments that way, shrink your font down or something like that. But that is it. It is not. That's it. Yeah, Sonia said that when she downloaded it, she had the option to save it as a slide, and she did. So it really is kind of that simple. It's not at all complicated. Remember, Google Slides is bare bones, and that's why I love it. It's an easy tool for kids to learn real quick. So right now you've got a Google Slide presentation. So if you're just using it as a presentation tool, that's good. But what I want, you're ready, you're good to go. You know how to do everything. But what I want to do is I want to show you some examples of what else you can do. So this is, if you go jump down to our blank canvas, jump down to the last one. These are 2 decks that I'm currently using in my US history class for summer school. They have pretty good examples of like manipulatives, how you can make manipulatives, and how to make an interactive deck. So what I want to do is I'm going to show you the Declaration of Independence one first. So if you just click on this, go ahead and open up this slide here. The way that you make things more interactive for kids is by putting links in to other websites, or giving a link to another presentation, which is what you guys just experienced when you did this. One of the things that I've done with the Declaration of Independence is I want the kids to actually work with the document itself. So I have this link to the National Archives where when the kids click on the link, it's going to take them to the National Archives version of the Declaration of Independence. So that's one way that you can do it. Another way is to just put in blank text boxes for kids to type answers into. So here I've got the first paragraph of the Declaration of Independence kind of cut out, and I'm telling them what I want them to do with this. So I'm basically walking them through a paragraph at the time. I'm going to tell them how I want them to interact with it. Here, I'm giving them instructions down here in the speaker. So this presentation is never going to be presented. It's going to be given out to the kids so that they can interact with it like this. And I'm using different areas of this to give them instructions. So if you go down here a little further, this was, you know, that slide that I wanted to show you was a version of using manipulatives. So what I've done here is I've made little text boxes that can move here. And what I want the kids to do is to take these sections. So in the Declaration of Independence, they have a series of accusations that the Crown has, that the British government has abused them in some way. And so I've put each of them on these little strips. And what I want them to do is put them into categories. So they're going to name the categories by double clicking here, and they're going to put each of these here. And the kids actually get pretty good at showing me how good they are, because they'll do this and they'll go here and they'll put them like this in here. So sometimes I do these things just to see how the kids, how good the kids are at using this tool. And it's pretty intuitive, so you'd be surprised at how little you actually have to guide them. Because if the kids are open to exploring, which I think they're a lot more adventurous than we are, adults are, in terms of figuring out how you could do more things with them. But this is just one way that you can do it. And the way that I'm playing around with this is two things. The things that I'm using a text box here. So if you go up here, I'm using a text box. So I can put that text box anywhere on the slide I want to. I can type in it. It's going to default to empty, but all I have to do, remember, this is where the thing is selected. So anything on this toolbar is going to affect this thing that I have selected. So I want to fill it with color so the kids don't see because if I drug it around now, they would see whatever's behind it. So what I want to do is I want it to be dark so that they can't see. Probably not that dark. Let's make it white. Okay, like that. That's not white. It's clear. Let me do that one more time. Let's go to white. There we go. So now they can drag it wherever they want. You can use these bars to position your text box however you want to. That's what the kids do first to make it go into the little buckets. But that's pretty much it. The slide that one of the things that she does is kind of what I did. I've got I think there are 28 of these indictments against the Crown. They're all kind of piled up here. You could do that here. So if there's something that you want kids to do, like a matching or something, they can all come down from one pile. It's really kind of fun. One of the things that you'll notice here is this is just white. It doesn't seem to have a border around it. And so a way to fix that is just by going in here to where the border controls are, right next to the fill. And you can make your border black or whatever color you want. You can also adjust how heavy that border is. I like most of these borders, like this border here is a 4-point border. So it's thick enough so it makes it stand out more. But these borders here are more like a 2-point border. So that really is all that you would need to know in order to do this. Oh, the other piece that you'll need to know is arranging or layering things. And I think PowerPoint does this too, but you would want to have something selected and then go up to the arrange menu here and then order it. And then you could send it back. You could send it to the back. You can send it backwards one layer, which is how you can make these piles work for you. It's also why they are, like if I clicked on this, I could make the layer go in front of it. So I can go order, I want to bring it to the front. So now the label is behind this label. I could also make it go behind the cup by doing the same thing, arrange, order. I want to bring the cup forward too. And it may take a few times. So usually what I do is I would bring it to the front and then I'm going to send it back one at a time until I get the label and I get it to look the way I want. So now I'm going to send it backwards. And now I've got the label on top. I have the cup on top and the things are back here in the back. So it's kind of easy to turn them into manipulatives here. So really the way that I do it most is I will have a fill-in text box for the kids. And to make a text box, there's a couple of things that you can do. You can go up here to this menu and just click on it. Now, whatever you do, wherever you go, you're drawing a text box. There's a shortcut way to do it, especially if you are not crazy for squares. You could make a shape. You could put in a shape, and I want to make it like this. So I'm going to put that shape here, and if you double click inside the shape, it's going to make it a text box for you. So you can type whatever you want on top of that shape. So I use text boxes a lot so that kids know to double click in here and to write in what their response is. I use manipulatives. I use inserting tables quite a bit in order to have them do things like define, give an example of each of these different things. I'll link it to the primary source. I'll use whatever area around the slide here for putting directions off the slide so the kids have more room to interact with what it is that they're connecting with. So this is just a down and dirty kind of manipulative interactive deck for kids to use. If I could get you back into the blank deck one more time, and if you click on the Constitution deck here, I've added video to this one, but everything else is pretty much the same. So here I've done I've added 3 videos. They're relatively short, but they're talking about the Articles of Confederation. I've added images in the gray area to kind of make it look like Madison's giving them the instructions here. After they watch the video, they give me 3 facts they didn't already know about the Articles of Confederation. The first one is usually, I didn't even know there was an Articles of Confederation. I didn't know there was a Constitution before our Constitution. But anyways, I'll do that. Then I have them talking about the benefits of the Constitution. And then this is a simple grid where I'm having them say, how does the article satisfy these ideas of democratic government? How does the Constitution do it? That kind of thing. And here I've got John Dickinson giving them the instructions. So that's video. Another thing you can do is attach resources to it. One of the things that I'm going to have the kids use here is Screencastify. So here I'm putting instructions here, and the reason why I'm doing that is this is another example of an interactive deck. So what I do here is I've got the Constitution lined up. It's basically just an example, but the first thing I want them to do is analyze the Constitution. So I connected a Google document here, and I have this kind of set up in a area that I can have them do a jot and then give me a rough idea of what the thin side's going to be. And I've got it kind of chunked for them already by the different sections. So they can do their planning on this Google Doc. And then go back here. This is what I want them to do with the information afterwards. I want them to create kind of a thin slide. Everything is linked that they need to have in any chance that they're going to do it. The reason why this one's already colored in is I do the first example with them, but here are the instructions for the kids on how to do a thin slide. And these are little timers on each slide because they can't spend more than 8 seconds talking about why they picked the image they picked for this part of the Constitution. Anyways, it's just an example of how you can make these things a little bit more sorry, that's very annoying. A little bit more engaging for the kids and with the kids, so that they're interacting with these decks more. So let's go into our blank deck and let's create a manipulative. So let's go up here to this blank deck here. And what I'm going to do first is just get rid of these text boxes. So to do that, I'm going to put my cursor down outside the text box, and I'm just going to drag it all the way down to the bottom. And what that does is it highlights everything that's on the Google slide. And then I'm going to hit delete. And now it's gone. And I've got a real blank slide or a blank area for me to create something. So let's make it simple. Let's do let's create just a box so that they're going to put something in. So I'm going to go up here to the shapes, and I'm going to do just a square shape here. It's going to default to a light gray because I have no themes. If you had a theme here, it would default to the color palette that they are using in whatever theme you have. But let's just get to this. So right now I've got a box. If I click out of the box, it has this kind of dark outside area. So it's good. Enough right there. And what I want them to do is to put some little words. Let's say I want them to have words in this box, or let's say let's go with the Constitution theme. I want them to vote. So I'm going to label this with a shape, and I'm going to say, I'm going to turn it into a text box, and I'm going to say vote. That I don't like off to the left, so I want to center it. So I've got the letters highlighted and this text box is highlighted, but I've got my font controls up here because I've got my word highlighted, right? So now I want to play around with the font because I don't think that that really says vote the right way. And I want to use this Banger font instead. So yeah, I like that. And I don't like it off to the side. I want it centered. So I'm going to go over here. And here I can see where the alignment tools are. So I'm going to go here and I want to center it. And I also want it centered in that box. So now I've got it where I want it, but it's too small. So I want it to be bigger. So I'm going to make the word bigger. In fact, I want it very obvious that that's what you're going to be doing. So I'm going to make it huge. And I think that the black is just a little too dark. So what I want to do is make the letters red. So I'm going to go up here to where the text color is, and I'm going to make that red. And so now it says vote. And I'm okay with not having a border around there. So I'm going to go up here to where the border tools are, and I'm going to change the border color to transparent so that when I click out of it, it just looks like a big square vote. And now I want, I'm going to put some ballots down here. So they're going to just be yes and no ballots. So I'm going to have a yes. And again, I want to center that. And it can be just Arial. It always defaults to Arial, but I do want it bigger. And I want it to be colored green. So I'm going to go to this fill box. I'm going to make it this blue-green color. And that's going to be one ballot. And then let me create another ballot. So I'm going to do another text box. I'm going to put it down here. This one is going to have no. Did you see how it automatically copied the one that I already had down? It does that. That's going to save you time. Oh, how do you insert a Bitmoji? Okay, so that is actually an add-on tool too. So if you go back to our main deck here, do you see where the Bitmoji is? Here, that's what they're talking about. If you go on here, if you click here to this, it's an add-on onto Google Slides. So if you click this, what you'll see is up here on your Chrome bar, you're going to see a little Bitmoji sign. So if I click on that at any time, it's already connected and it has my Bitmoji in it. Sorry, this one is not, I'm not using my regular. So let's go here. What it would do is it would connect it automatically up here. I'm using my personal email, so it's not connected automatically. But if I was on my school one, it's already loaded to this one. And then it has all of the different shapes and sizes and things like that that you can add. And you're going to, that's a good question. Let's go back to where we're at here into our blank canvas. If I wanted to insert a picture on one of these things, that's exactly how you would insert your Bitmoji. You would click on this image, and I want to search the web. If I wanted to go to my drive where I have a folder of Bitmojis, I could tell it to go to my drive. I could tell it to go into my photos, but I'm going to tell it to search the web. And I want to search the web for cup. And I want the cup to be transparent. And all that means is there won't be a background behind the cup. So whatever cup I have, let's say this one, when I insert it, the background won't come with it. So it could be here. That's how I created those. Let me see, let me go back to the Declaration of Independence. Where are you? That's how I created these cups, is I just inserted blank cups there. So that's how, and if you type in the word transparent, then what you're going to get is something without a background. So you could put it anywhere and it makes it actually a little better because you don't have the white square around it. So one other thing I might want to do with these things is just put a border around it. I'm going to do 2 points and I'll let it do whatever, but I don't want the no to be the same color. So I'm going to change this fill color to red and my font color to white, and my no will be here. It automatically defaulted to this size because it is trying to resize to shape my, to fit my text. If I had put it down to no auto fitting, then it would do it like that. So I'm going to make that bold. I'm going to increase the size. I want to center it. And I want to put it here. And now I've got manipulatives because you can move these things around. So if we want to tell them to vote, if they do right now, their vote is going to cover this. But what I want to do is make sure that this one is arranged to the front. And then, oops, let me make it go back one. Okay, let me get this, and I'm going to make that go to the front first. And then this, I'm going to make it go to the front, but then I'm going to tell it to go back one. There we go. So now if I take this and I drag it here, it'll go behind the box and you won't be able to see it. So that's just a quick, easy way to create a manipulative. To insert anything like pictures, we just did a picture. If I wanted to have if I had a folder of my Bitmojis, I can insert a picture that way. You'll go to this insert menu, and these are all of the different things that you can insert. So if you want to insert just an audio, like let's say that I want the kids to hear how that word is pronounced, vote, I can make an audio clip and insert it here right underneath this so they can click on it to know how to pronounce the word vote. So these are all of the different things that you can insert, but like an image, I can do a text box. So usually the menu is going to be up here where you can access it here. But if you don't see the right menu, you can always go into the insert menu and use this to put in features. Video, this works so well with YouTube. It just is automatically connected to YouTube. So let's say I want a video of someone voting. And I can do a search. And then here I've got all kinds of different things where they're talking about voting. So let's just click on this one here. And now I'll have this video that I can resize and I can move to anywhere I want. It's the last thing added, so it's going to be on top, but I could layer it behind something else. So, and then you'll notice that you'll have tools for this. So let's say I don't want them to see the whole clip. I only want them to see the middle 10 seconds. Well, you can tell it to do that here. So start at 20 seconds and end at 25 seconds. So it's really, really user-friendly. But like I said, if you just want a presentation form, PowerPoint is pretty much the same thing. But if you want Yes. Okay. So Jennifer, to ensure that every kit has their own copy, when you share it, you are always going to have it to anyone can view. And what I do is I just train my kids to copy, file, make a copy. In fact, I have that printed on a poster in my room. So the kids always remember they won't be able to access it when they first see it. But I'll change this link to anyone can view, then they're not going to mess up your deck. They'll have their own deck that they can work with and turn back into you. I hope that that was informative, and I hope that I did everything that I promised you I would do. If you wouldn't mind giving me a little feedback, I would appreciate it. You can click this feedback link here. Also on that slide that I shared with you for our presentation, here is a bit.ly that goes to our slide deck too. So are there any questions before? Because I can hang around for hours.